She said, Gina, you need to open this as a business. And I said, Tiffany, no, I've been an entrepreneur before. I don't want to be an entrepreneur again. That's way too scary. I don't want my mortgage getting paid, being contingent upon the next contract that I sign. And she said, just get over yourself. Get over yourself. Go open that business.
You're listening to The Successful Bookkeeper with your host, Michael Palmer. Listen each week as inspiring guests share their secrets of success to help you increase your confidence, work smarter, and build a business you love. This episode of The Successful Bookkeeper is brought to you by PureBookkeeping.com, the proven system to grow your bookkeeping business.
Welcome back to the Successful Bookkeeper podcast. I'm your host, Michael Palmer, and today's show is going to be fantastic. Our guest is the founder and CEO of Athena Executive Services, a firm that pairs high-caliber virtual executive assistants around the United States with busy owners, entrepreneurs, and executives. Gina Cotner, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Michael. Great to be here.
It's great to have you, and I'm looking forward to this conversation because we have a lot of busy business owners that listen to this podcast. So you are definitely in the right place, and so is our listener today. And before we get into all of it, Gina, please tell us a little bit about your career journey leading up to this point.
Boy, it has been a winding road. Definitely not the linear trajectory out of college that one thinks of. Boy, how far back to go. So yeah, I got a degree in human resources and public relations. And I'd say in the last 30 years, I've probably worked in human resources all of 6 months and in public relations all of 6 months. But really good background and really good informative place to come from for my entire career. At one point, let's go back. We'll go back 20 years, let's just say. I was working for IBM for 7 years. It's 1998, right? So we're approaching the dot-com world. All my friends are working for startups and trading stocks and doing really cool things. And I was just too nervous. I just wanted a really solid job with a really solid company. And IBM was a great place to be for 6 or 7 years. And then I don't know if it's because it was the early 2000s or if it was because I was in my early 30s and everybody in their early 30s does this. I don't know. But I started having that, like, I don't want to be trapped into a job and I don't want to work 9 to 5. And what is this? What do you mean passive income? What could I go do for passive income? And, oh, people are buying real estate. Maybe I should go buy real estate. Just all these sort of entrepreneurial thoughts. And I did finally say, okay, I'm actually going to leave corporate America and I'm going to jump. And in 2006, I left IBM to do the really logical thing called go open a martini bar.
Oh, wow.
Because there's some sort of logic there. I'm not too sure what. No, that's a whole other podcast where that came from. But so it's 2006 to 2008. I do all this work, no kidding, to get ready to open a martini bar. And it was the best thing I never did because who knew what was about to happen in 2008, 2009, our huge recession. So I pulled the plug on that whole project and became a business coach. And I was a hospitality consultant. And I was doing all these little entrepreneurial things. And I was loving the freedom of it, but I wasn't making any real money. And then I left my husband and I moved into an apartment. And I'm 40 now. And I start getting notices in the mail about our house, which I left him with the house. And I start getting pieces of pink and yellow pieces of paper in the mail, which I've never seen before because the mortgage isn't getting paid. And I start to panic. And I just woke up one day and said, I'm way too scared. I'm too stressed. I just need a job. I need somebody to just put me to work, put some money in my bank account, and I'll just keep going to work. And I saw on Facebook, just a contact on Facebook, and they were looking for an executive assistant. And I thought, okay, I am highly educated. I can be an executive assistant for sure. And I became this person's executive assistant. She was the CEO of a recruiting firm. And I went to the office, took my little bus and my little outfit on in the morning and did the whole corporate little thing and went to be her EA. And about 3 months later, she got out of the rental lease where the offices were. So all of a sudden now we're all working from home, and this is now maybe 10 years ago. So now I'm an executive assistant and I'm working from home from a CEO for a CEO, and I'm loving it. I'm like, this is great. I got so much flexibility and it's really fun and I'm loving it. And do that for a few years. And the business starts to fizzle out and it gets too small that they don't need an EA anymore. So she said, would you be willing to go on a sabbatical? And at the same time, my father was dying. So my father was coming to the last chapter of his life. And fortunately, I guess we knew that was happening. And I said, you know what? Let's just end our partnership here. And I'm going to go to California and I'm going to spend the last 6 weeks of my dad's life with him. And I did. And he passed. And then I came back to Seattle and I spent the next 3 months just doing whatever I wanted and grieved and had time for myself and gave myself space. And then I woke up in the fall of 2015 and I said, well, all right, I'm ready for another CEO. I'm going to keep being an EA. And I shook the bushes of my friends and family and contacts. And somebody said, yeah, I've got a CEO. They could really use you. And I said, okay, all right. So I start working for this guy named Darren, and I'm his virtual executive assistant. And I go into the office maybe one day a week, open up all of his mail, clean up his office. And I went back to my apartment and I worked from my apartment the rest of the week. And it's good. And my friend who works there says 3 months later, I'm going to need you. I think I need an EA. So can you plan for that? And I said, no, I am full. I don't need any more work. I don't have any more bandwidth. And she said, okay, no problem. Just find me somebody like you. And I thought, okay. So we put our heads together and we thought of a mutual contact. And we said, we think this person would be good. We think she'd like to work with us. And she was young. She was 25. And I said, Tiffany, we can't mess up her life. So if we pull her out of this one job she's had as an adult, you need to be a good person for her to work for. And I'll coach her in how to be a good EA. Tiffany said, okay, good, let's do that. So we call our friend Dorian and we said, Dorian, do you want to be Tiffany's EA in the same company where I'm an EA? She said, yeah, I'd love to. So she does it. And there we are humming along, me and Dorian, and we're working in this company. And then Tiffany, who's in the HR department, comes to me again and says, hey, the guys in sales, they really need an EA. They're wasting way too much time doing low-level stuff. And I said, well, we're full. And she said, no problem. Just go find me somebody like you. And she said, Gina, you need to open this as a business. And I said, Tiffany, no, I've been an entrepreneur before. I don't want to be an entrepreneur again. That's way too scary. I don't want my mortgage getting paid, being contingent upon the next contract that I sign. And she said, just get over yourself. Get over yourself. Go open that business. So that was April of 2016. And that's when we opened. So then I applied for my business license, and there was me and Dorian, and we went and found Allison. And that was the beginning 7 years ago of how Athena came to be, was just finding that. And then about a year later, I worked myself out of a job. So then I was no longer an EA, and I was running this company full of EAs. So there's the semi-long version, Michael.
We'll get back to the interview right after this word from our sponsor. Get ready to fast forward your bookkeeping business into the future with the Successful Bookkeeper Technology Showcase on June 22nd, 2023. This one-day virtual event is the perfect opportunity to connect with industry experts, leading technology providers, and find solutions and efficiencies for your business. But that's not all. Our keynote presenter, Teresa Slack, co-founder of Financially, will share the technology stack that has helped them build a near seven-figure bookkeeping business. You'll learn about the latest and greatest apps, software, and features that can take your business to the next level. Don't miss out on this incredible opportunity to revolutionize your bookkeeping business. Register today at thesuccessfulbookkeeper.com/showcase and join us on June 22nd. See you there. Thank you for hearing from our sponsor. Now let's get back to the interview. I think it's the great version, because I love hearing the life journey piece of it. You know, you could tell just the business, how the business got started, but I always love the color of the life and how life ebbs and flows and ups and downs and chapters beginning, chapters ending. So interesting. And, you know, being an entrepreneur and leading a company myself, you know, you had me at open your mail and clean your office. You know, it's like, come over. It's just so needed of a service. So for so many, I know lots of friends that run companies, and it's can be an overwhelming experience. And I know our listener right now is probably relating to that as well. Like, there's so much to do. The world is not getting simpler, right? It's only getting more complicated. It's moving at an incredible pace all the time, more and more and more all the time. And so there's just not enough time in the day to even get to a fraction of the things that need to get done. And it's not about getting the things done even. It's about what should get done, helping create space and time and focus so that a leader can actually have the time to lead, right? And so I just love the story. I love how you impacted some of these business owners, but then how you answered a very, very big need in the marketplace by, like, all these people. Like, you were doing a great job, and of course, like, they see the results. So I want that for me.
Yeah, exactly.
And so I'm curious now. I've had assistants, and I would say that they're probably all good, but I would say I would be the bottleneck or the problem in my experience of working with someone that's going to assist me. It's like, I'm doing my thing, how I act and behave, and, you know, it's about leveraging the resource. But I'm really curious, for someone like our listener who might be thinking about hiring a virtual assistant, what are some of the challenges that people would have hiring a virtual assistant?
Well, boy, there's so much. So there's the hiring itself. Like, how do I go select one? And then let's just say you got a good one. Then there's how do we have a great partnership? You know, how do we have it be really effective? How do I get a return on my investment? So where do you want to start? You want to start in, like, how do you select one, or how to work most effectively with one? What do you think's best?
I think, how do you know when you need, where it's like, that's the right choice? Let's start there. It's like, because I would imagine there's people who are at all levels, but I would say that it all begins with, and just like that CEO that you went and worked for, your first virtual assistant role was the second one, right? Where you went and worked with this new CEO, and you went in one day a week, but the rest of it was virtual. It's like, how did that person decide that this was a good choice for them, and that this was something they really needed for their business?
Yeah, great. Okay. Well, I think it's good for everybody right now. But I mean, who doesn't want somebody to do the low-level work that you don't want to do?
Right.
But then you're like, well, how can I afford that? And why should I pay for that when I could do that myself? That sounds ridiculous. I don't just have an extra $2 or $3 grand laying around every month to pay for somebody to do low-level work. So part of it starts with a mindset. You know, you get to a point where you're sick of doing that thing. I don't know, social media management, or, you know, I can't, in other industries that are not bookkeepers, you know, I'll say things like, you don't want to be the one who stays on hold with IRS, but I don't know. Sometimes bookkeepers probably got to stay on hold with IRS sometimes.
Right.
But there are, you know, so philosophically, I think where everybody wants to go is what I call be the surgeon. Everybody ultimately wants to be the surgeon. So ultimately, you want to do the part of bookkeeping that had you become a bookkeeper and had you open a bookkeeping business. there are probably 2 or 3 things that are the most enlivening, fulfilling. You're like, yes, that's why I opened this business, so I could do that. And then there's 100 other things you got to do to be able to have those juicy, I love my job, I love my life moments. So when and why to have a VA is when you're ready to really let go of everything that is not the highest and best use of you. So I liken it to a surgeon, right? Surgeon makes a lot of money, drives to the hospital in the fancy dancy car, parks in the part of the parking lot where all the fancy dancy cars are, goes in, scrubs up, stands there. Somebody puts all this gear on that surgeon. The surgeon walks into a room that is completely prepared by other people for what they're about to do. They do the magic. They do the thing they are most trained for, most paid for, most highly trained for. They do that for 2 or 3 hours. They go give the family the good news. And then what do?
Golfing.
Go golfing. Maybe. Or, maybe they get to yoga, or they go to their kid's soccer game, or they get to Pilates, or they go do something good for themselves, their family, their community, their whatever. So we all want that, right? We all want to go do the thing that is the best, that we are the best at. So when you go to think about, well, do I need a virtual assistant? When do I need a virtual assistant? Well, maybe you don't need a full-time resource, but maybe you start by getting 2 or 3 things off your plate that are what I'm just going to call soul sucking, right? The stuff that just makes your day cruddy. And it's not that it was so hard, but you're like, ugh, I didn't want to make a slide deck for a presentation, or I didn't want to blah, 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 blah. Okay, that's the stuff to go offload. And that is when you go offload that. It is. And then here's the thing about the ROI. So you think, well, I don't have $50 an hour to go pay somebody. Well, you do if you go pay somebody $50 an hour to do low-level work while you do $100 an hour work. But you've got to make sure you're doing the $100 an hour work, right? You're not just offloading the stuff you are not good at or you don't love to do and then go be on Facebook, right? You got to use those 2 hours that you just paid somebody $100 to do 2 hours worth of work to go generate business, or to go do the part of the business that you love. Because even if it's a long, hard day, if you're doing what you love, you go home or go back to the other part of your house happy and enlivened.
So interesting. And so true. And that's often with any investment, is really taking a clean look at it. There's many things in life where, yeah, we could do all sorts of things, but is it the best use of our time? Is, you're investing in someone at $50 so you can do the work that's $100 an hour. Definitely a warning. I hear the warning there is like, yeah, you actually have to have the business built in a way that supports that. If you can't get to that $100, you're investing in the wrong spots. Now, if someone says, great, I want to, and I think for our listener, a bridge to this world is, yes, part-time, someone's doing a couple of things it's like 1, 2, 3, let's get those off the plate. They're valuable to the business. We know we need to do them. Let's hire somebody to just do those things versus I'm going to have a full-time resource. That's a great bridge to get people there. So what's that next step then? They have to select somebody. They have to go through the thinking of what are those 3 things. How does that look for your clients?
Yeah. Well, I think for anybody listening, you can start by making a log of the things. Like you could spend the next week, just have a little piece of paper next to you all day long, or an app on your phone, and just start logging those things that are repetitive. You don't like to do them. You're not good at them, or they just don't make you happy. And particularly those that are repetitive, twice a month, I've got to do this, or every time I have a client meeting, I've got to do these 3 things. Those are all potential things that you might delegate in the future. And when you look at that list after a week, it'll start to inform you, well, you might actually know somebody. Sometimes it might start out with your nephew. I don't know. Maybe it's a summer job for your niece, and you're just starting off by giving away a few things because you yourself are practicing being somebody who's a good delegator. Now, that's a whole other podcast, how to delegate really effectively. So that's a place of where to start is, what all would I give away?
That exercise is a fantastic exercise for anyone to do if they've never done it. Is time. It's a time tracking exercise. What do you do with your time? That has a couple of benefits in itself. It's like, what can I have other people do? What should I maybe stop doing? What do I need to do more of? That in itself is almost a must-do exercise if anyone's looking to hire an assistant and also improve their own use of their time.
Yeah. So then I think the other thing you asked was where, right? How do you go about finding one?
Yes.
So the virtual assistant world right now is just the wild, wild west, right? It's unregulated. Anybody and their brother can call themselves a virtual assistant, and it's international. So I'll just give you a quick overview of the industry at large. Is you have overseas firms. The whole VA notion, virtual assistant notion, really caught on when Tim Ferriss wrote The 4-Hour Work Week, and people just got wild about, I could just hire a VA from the Philippines to do this and a VA from India to do that. And you can. So there's a whole vast world of overseas VAs. That's going to definitely be the cheapest way to go. And that's going to come with a whole set of pros and cons. So that would be the cheapest end. The most expensive end are what I'd call US-based agencies. So that's my firm. I'm not the most expensive, but I'm up there. We are full of people based here in the United States. And it's, I would say, a difference between, do you just need tasks done? So some agencies, international or domestic, are going to be really good at, give us 5 tasks, we'll get it done, we're going to charge you this much. It might amount to $5 or $6 an hour. Some agencies are going to charge you by the month or by a package. My firm charges just flat out by the hour. You use 7 hours, you get charged for 7 hours. You use 30, you get charged for 30. We just do straight hour tracking. Then there's everything in between. So you're looking at what level of business acumen, what level of professionalism do you need? Do you need somebody who's ever going to email or talk to your clients? That's a big differentiator. If you just need somebody behind the scenes to do some tasks, it might work to hire somebody overseas for cheaper. But if you need somebody who's going to respond on your behalf in email or call a client back for you or confirm an appointment in a way that we would confirm it, that is something to consider. You've got the whole world of Upwork that you could go to, or you can find all kinds of people working on all kinds of projects. You might just give away a project for a month right there on Upwork or Fiverr. Then there's this magical little thing I call the unicorn in the middle, which is high quality assistant who's not going to charge an arm and a leg because they work for themselves and they're sitting at their dining room table right now in Kansas City, and they would be perfect for you. And they're probably only going to charge you $25 an hour, but you have to go find them. So just like any house project, right? The more you pay, the less work you do, probably the better it gets done, but you don't necessarily always have the money to buy the high price product. Less money you pay, more risk, more work you've got to do, more liability. So some of the liabilities, I'll just say, and again, if you can get it done, if you can get what you want to offload done for $6 an hour, you should go do that. But some of the liabilities are going to be time zones. If you're working with somebody halfway around the world and you want to talk to them, when are you going to talk to them? And an interesting thing I didn't know for a few years until I was in the business, and then I would be talking to potential clients and I'd learn their war stories, right? All the VAs that didn't work out for them. And that's how I learned about the industry, was by hearing what didn't work out. There are some things culturally. So not only just language, you might have language barrier situations, But all assistants really want to be of service and they want to do a great job. And everybody wants to look good to each other. If I'm your EA, you want me to think well of you. You want to think well of me. We have a honeymoon stage. We're trying to like look good to each other when really maybe the work is subpar. Mm-hmm. But nobody wants to interrupt that and say that. In certain cultures, I mean, it's certainly in America, but it's in other cultures, it would be, shameful to admit a mistake, or you'd rather chew off your right arm than call Michael and say, I screwed something up. So that's something to watch out for, because when you're starting a relationship with a virtual assistant or any kind of assistant, you want there to be lots of feedback because we don't know each other. And yet we're working on really important things. I mean, we're working on your business. And we're constantly, if we're doing our partnership well, you're course correcting me. I'm letting you know what worked for me and didn't work for me and how you did that thing. You're letting me know what I did that was really great. And hey, this little part of it that wasn't so great. That's tricky in certain cultures. And that was an interesting thing I never knew until a few years ago. And I thought, oh, right. That just naturally makes sense. And there's internet issues in some parts of the world too. Somebody said, well, I don't know why I haven't heard from my VA for 3 days. It's very strange. And when the VA came back, they said, oh, I'm fine. There was just a coup. COUP. There was a coup. We all, they did whatever they do in their city when there's a coup. But we're fine now. And I was like, oh, see, I don't wake up and.
That's right. Right. Typhoons and power outages, blackouts, brownouts, all sorts of stuff that any country that's maybe not as established as other countries would go through. So if you've got deadlines and stuff like that, that might not be it's like anything, if you're going hiking and you're sure you don't need anybody to be in touch with you, then you're good with just nothing. But if you have to be in touch with somebody, you might want a satellite phone. It's like,
that's
but
right.
Each comes with its own cost.
Exactly.
That's right. Very interesting and some great tips to be aware of. Certainly some great opportunities for dipping the toe into the pool, like the Upwork and hiring somebody for a very, very specific task. Is there any other mistakes that you see people making that, and you've had some of those, you mentioned some of the horror stories, but mistakes that someone's going to give this a shot, that they should really be thinking about? I mean, you've already mentioned a few, but if there's any others, love to always hear those, what to look out for, what to avoid.
Yeah. Mistakes, you mean in hiring somebody, or mistakes in my partnership with my EA, or all the above?
I think, well, let's go with let's actually sort of transition a little bit. So now we've got kind of like where do you find them? Now it's a little bit of like, how do you hire them? How do you make that choice? Who's going to be your right fit?
Yeah. Well, obviously you want to talk about what you need them to do and inspect. Do they have any experience with that? And again, knowing that everybody's going to shine you on, right? Mm-hmm. Who's not fabulous in every interview. I'll tell you what we do, and anybody can steal it. We drag out the vetting and screening process over a few weeks, because somebody can survive 2 quick conversations and be like a shining star. And we throw some curveballs at them along the way. We have 4 or 5 different conversations. One's all about our mission, our vision, our values. And it ends up with they actually have to do some work, an actual pretend work, but it's very similar to it's all based on real life scenarios. So to the degree that you can have people do some things and show you a work product is great. But even how they communicate, you'll see if you look at how they send you a text or how they send you an email, every single little thing somebody does when they interact with us, I know they're going to operate somewhat like that with one of my clients. But if I was just hiring somebody off the street, I'd do the same thing. I wouldn't schedule a call for tomorrow and then the follow-up call tomorrow and then hire them the 3rd day, right? Like, let's talk tomorrow. All right, let's talk again. Let's talk again next week, and let's talk about these and such a things. And then maybe text them oh, I'm so sorry. My son is sick this morning and he's home. I'm not going to be able to, speak with you, and see how they react. Are they like, great, got it? Or are they like, oh, I'm so sorry. Do they include emojis? Do they not include emojis? Do you like emojis? Do you not like emojis? You can get a sense of this human being if you throw a few curveballs over there and see how they dance with what happens in the real world. So that's one tip, is kind of drag it out. Another tip is have them actually deliver something similar to what you would need them to deliver in the real world, so you can just see how they work. Sometimes I'm blown away. We give people exercises and I'm like, wow, I want my EA to do that. I never thought of doing it that way, So those are a couple tips. And then I think the biggest thing is you have an opportunity to start a brand new relationship. There's no mess in the water yet. And so if you do start that relationship, start it off in a way where there's always open feedback, which isn't normal, because when you're starting any relationship, just that thing you did that I thought was weird, I don't say anything about, because we're getting to know each other. Mm-hmm. And then that other thing you did that wasn't so great, I don't really want to tell you about because I want you to like me. And then pretty soon 3 weeks have gone by and you've done 5 things that are just a little bit off. And now you're not quite going in the right direction. But that's my fault. I never gave you the feedback. So I think that's a big thing, is just, can you also ferret out in the interviewing process? Listen, we're going to do a lot of feedback back and forth with each other. We call it coaching. We say, listen, if you don't like coaching, you shouldn't work for us, because we are going to coach you. Mm-hmm. We are going to course correct, and you can't take that personally. That can't be dramatic for you. And we try to ferret out who's open to that and who's not, because it makes a huge difference.
So interesting. And some fantastic tips there, just in hiring in general, I think. That's a beautiful one, of the actual runway with all sorts of experiences to tell a full story. And that's very probably rare, I would imagine. But now that you've hired somebody, you've got them working with you, how do you handle like performance and making sure that the relationship's working well?
So again, if it's just you and them, if you have an agency, it's partly what you're paying the agency for. So like in my company, you hire my company, that EA's performance is my problem, not yours. Your job is just delegate the house and the kitchen sink and everything. We deal with, their mom was just in the hospital. They're really sad. All the emotional part of the human being, the performance of the human being, the future of the human being. So somebody's got to tend to that person as a human being. So you're either kind of paying a premium rate because an agency is going to take care of that for you. Now, if it's just you and them, you found the unicorn, and they're working at their dining room table in Kansas City, how do we work together, right? And how do you deal with the performance? So was your question, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So when you go to delegate, a quick tip on delegating is that you let them know what done looks like. So this is done when. Or I don't know what done looks like, but will you go take the first 3 steps and show me what you got, and then I'll know where we're going? Because sometimes I embark on a project with my EA. I've never researched that before, and I don't want to, right? But she'll take the first initial steps, and then I can see kind of the forest through the trees, and I can go, oh, okay, let's go in this direction, So becoming a good delegator will make a big difference, and you will get better at that over time.
I love that. I mean, just in that, it's like, I don't know what done is. All right, this is done, or you figure out done, and I'll tell you if I like that.
Yeah, like sometimes
it's being very upfront, right? It's like, and transparent. It's like, I don't know what I want this to look like yet, but try and surprise me here.
Exactly.
We'll decide together. Oh, that's done now. Now done is.
Exactly. Or they'll take the first 3 steps, I'll take the next 2, and then I'll hand the ball back over. Mm-hmm. Another thing that will give you a lot of ROI and empowers your assistant is to let them know, you own this now. I'm giving you this. And now I know You've never transitioned a company from one payroll system to another, which is what we just did. Or you've never helped your CEO find a yacht to rent for a week. Or, well, these kind of crazy projects. We know you've never done this before, but you own this now. And I work for you. And that's another really big mindset shift. That they go, well, I've never done this before. It's, okay, well, go take these first 3 steps and then let's talk. But you'll be amazed what people's ingenuity and their thinking, all the while you're over here building your business while they're bringing to you thinking, which is always what I want. I'm like, bring me your thinking, go do research, bring me your thinking. I know you're not an expert, but neither am I on this project. And then I'll say, okay, I'm going to go do X. Corrine is the name of my EA. I'll say, all right, Corrine, I'm going to go take the next couple of steps and then I'm going to hand you back the ball. But you own this. So you got to manage me. You come back to me and say, Gina, I need you to read this by Friday. I'm going to have a call with you about it on Monday. And then by Tuesday, we need to do this. And then my job as the boss is to be a good team player. Have me not be the jerk that screws up the flow of the project. So I'm now an asset for my people versus they're an asset for me. But it's partly because I trust them, but I also have an eye on them. And then I say, well, what do you need from me? And I'll tell you, one of the best emails I got 2 weeks ago, we were just writing performance evaluation forms. I can't believe my company is to that level now. But one of my managers said, I need you to review this handbook. It's very long. I need you to schedule time in your calendar to do it. And I need the whole entire thing done by June 15th. And I was like, oh my God, I love you. I love that kind of email, like where somebody's sort of bossing me, but I need a little bit of that. And then I went and did what she said. I put blocks of time in my calendar and I'm reading through this employee handbook and I work for her. But I don't have to do the mess of the handbook. She's doing it all, but she does need me to do my part. But I tell her, you need to manage me to do my part. And she does. It's way fun.
I love it. I love it. This has been absolutely fantastic. Some amazing tips. I'm learning so much in this interview. Can't wait to take some of it into actual practice. Tell us a little bit about, before we let you go, I'd love to know, you've told us a little bit about your company, but I'd love for you to share what you think is super valuable and why our listener, if they're thinking about hiring a firm and really want to take it, in my opinion, I believe it's like you're going to hire someone like you. It's like you want to nail it and not have to deal with all of the other question marks that we've talked about. That's your firm. Tell us a little bit about how they would get to know you and how to get started.
Yeah. Well, you can find out all about us at our website, which is athenaexecutiveservices.com. And on there, you can make an appointment, and you make an appointment with this awesome lady named Jennifer Tracy. And she has an initial call with people, just kind of get a sense of what you're dealing with, what you're up against. She's a great person to brainstorm with. You might be like, I don't know if I need you. I don't know if I need something else. And she will help you sift through what you think you might need. And then she'll give you a great questionnaire and send you on your way. And then you come back with her and she'll review that questionnaire with you. And the questionnaire alone helps you sift through, what might I delegate? What should I delegate? What really needs to get delegated? What should I keep? Kind of do that thinking with her. And then she'll get back on the phone with you for maybe another half hour, 45 minutes, and look to see, okay, what do you need? Now, of course, we're a company with extraordinary talent because we've done the work to cultivate the talent. So I've got about 20 EAs all over the United States. And they're rock stars. They have high level of business acumen. They're ready to kind of take you versus you got to take them on. They're kind of ready to take you on and go, okay, Michael, here's what I need. Here we go. Now, next Friday, when we talk, give me a list of blah, blah, blah. Like, they will drive the ship, which is really fun. But it's what you're paying for, right? You don't have to go find them. You don't have to vet them. You don't have to screen them. Everybody in my firm's got a performance coach that they talk to at least twice a month. And one of my performance coaches just got her master's degree from NYU in executive coaching. I'm so proud of her. But my people talk to somebody like her and say, all right, so I've been working for Michael. Here's what I'm struggling with. We were really good on this project, and then I think something got weird. And they've got somebody they can go work with in my company that deals with their performance. And then we send them back to Michael so they can go keep being a rock star EA. And then we will always check in with our clients. We will call our clients twice a month in the beginning because, again, that relationship is brand new. It's just getting off the ground. We don't want it to go sideways. So then you would get a call from Jennifer. It says, Michael, how's everything going with Violet? And you can go, well, it was really good. Or then this happened, or I'm not sure what happened here, or it's whatever. And then Jennifer goes, oh, okay, great. We're familiar with those symptoms. We're going to go talk to Violet. We'll get that ironed out. Wow. So that's what kind of a top shelf product looks like.
I love the top shelf. I love the top shelf. Gina, you are amazing. And what an amazing business it sounds like you've built. And I know there's listeners out there right now that come at all spectrums, right? They're just dipping the toe, go get start with the Upwork or the Fiverr or whatever the case may be. But then I know there's a lot of our listeners that have great businesses and want to nail it and want to free themselves from things in their business and leverage you, someone like you in your business and your team of professionals to help them go to the next level, right? And so I just know, and I hope that we're able to connect you with great people. You seem like a great person yourself, and I've just enjoyed right from the beginning the story of your journey, and then as well some amazing tips for all sorts of things, not just working with VAs, but running business in general. It's been really a pleasure to speak with you today.
Great. It's been so great to be here with you.
Yeah, thank you. And with that, we wrap another episode of the Successful Bookkeeper podcast. To learn more about today's wonderful guest and to get access to all sorts of valuable free business building resources, you can go to thesuccessfulbookkeeper.com. Until next time, goodbye.
You've been listening to The Successful Bookkeeper with Michael Palmer. For more information and to download the resources mentioned in this episode, please visit us at thesuccessfulbookkeeper.com. Thank you for listening.